Some pulp fiction first. Citing anonymous sources, the Washington Post claims that Ukraine blew up the Nord Stream 1 and 2 gas pipelines in September 2022, and Roman Chervinsky, a former employee of GUR, is responsible for coordinating the operation. Good afternoon, this is Henry Keane on UATV English, bringing the hard truth in easy terms for the whole free world directly from Ukraine as usual. This is not the first time that foreign media have accused Ukraine of being involved in the Nord Stream pipelines case. In March, a similar article was published by the New York Times. I will now give out a state Ukrainian secret. We in Ukraine just love this based on anonymous sources articles. I mean, if I write an article where I, citing anonymous sources, of course, would have stated that, say, I don't know, the US presidential candidate is working on Russian KGB, FSB, and this is exactly why he is offering appeasement to Putin, trading our Ukrainian lands for his presidential campaign votes. Anyone in the world would call me, in my article, nothing else but a dubious fantasies. And very rightfully so. Only competent state institutions can reliably comment on the circumstances of sabotage at the gas pipelines, none of which have yet made any such statements. Official Ukrainian representatives have repeatedly denied accusations of Ukrainian involvement in any sabotage, and so did Roman Chervinsky through his attorney. The plots of these sabotage stories on the Nord Stream pipelines that are cited by Western pubs from anonymous sources are almost Hollywood type. Allegedly, some saboteurs on a rented civilian boat have blasted the pipelines. I'm sorry, do you even hear yourself? Pipelines are located not in the Washington Post office. No, pipelines are literally lying on the bottom of the Baltic Sea. Again, the Baltic Sea bottom, not some imaginary SpongeBob's bikini's bottom, a real damn Nautic, damn cold sea bottom. And you were saying like there was a civilian boat and civilians on it knew exactly where and how deep the pipeline lines. Moreover, the saboteurs were geared up quite well, I would say. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. Purely technically, you should have had very specific deep water equipment to carry out a sabotage like that deep under the water surface. And now tell me, what is more likely? For some anonymous civilian saboteurs to have such a specific equipment, or the Baltic Navy of the Russian Federation? Just asking. Of course, the most plausible version of the explosion is in sabotage indeed, however, carried out by Russia itself. Such itself. Russia has all sorts of interest in that sabotage to happen, since during the actual energy war with the West, the Kremlin is obviously aware of the economic black holes in those pipelines turned into. Therefore, the Kremlin simply does not want to fulfill its obligations to European clients, as simple as that. The fiction stories of the Western press about that Ukrainian attack in the sabotage of the Nord Streams looks very much like a Russian informational operation aimed at the obvious, to undermine the trust of the Allies for official Kiev, as well as introducing contradictions between the political and military leadership of Ukraine. I tell you what, it is good for Ukraine. The more absurd Russian propaganda looks like, the better for Ukraine is. When you are stuck in the middle of a war, you can't win and not willing to stop, and that is a sad truth for the Kremlin. What's left but telling the fake stories? For example, on November 12th, the propaganda of the Russian Federation first spread and then denied reports on the retreat of Russian troops from the Dnipro. The retreat of the occupying troops from their occupied positions on the left bank of the Kherson region is not confirmed by any objective control data. Throwing in a message on a supposed retreat and regrouping is a Russian fake, again, and disinformation, the purpose of which is again very obvious: to provoke the command of the defense forces of Ukraine to, yes, make mistakes. Thank God and Valery Zaluzhny, our defense forces do not make their decisions based on Russian propaganda sources.
The Russian military command may have instructed state media to release and then retract these reports as part of an information operation that aims to have Ukrainian forces underestimate available Russian manpower on the east bank of Kherson Oblast. Ukrainian forces are very unlikely to make any operational level decisions based on limited media report of the Russian regrouping. However, and if the reports are a part of an informational operation, they will likely fail to deceive the Ukrainian command. Report by the Institute for the Study of War.
Please remember, the only reliable source of information on hostilities in Ukraine are official Ukrainian reports. Anything coming from Russians, just leave that to Russians. These resources are not to be trusted. Again, the defense forces of Ukraine are carrying out combat operations aimed at the occupation of the left bank of the Dnipro. But it is premature to talk about decisive counteroffensive in this direction. The Ukrainian army needs no publicity of their tactical issues and successes. On the contrary, the silent mode protects their lives and facilitates the effective performance of assigned tasks. We fight. The results will follow. In 1774, Samuel Jackson printed his The Patriot, a critic article of what he viewed as false patriotism. On the evening of 7th April 1775, he made his famous statement, I quote, "Patriotism is the last refuge of the scoundrel." Contrary to what is widely believed, the line was not about patriotism in general, but rather what Johnson saw as false use of it. And who Johnson opposed were so-called self-professed patriots who had no true patriotism. But what is true patriotism? Well, these days we clearly see what is not. The biggest enemy of patriotism is ignorance. As a result of our infamous, furious, absolutely, unfortunately, unstoppable fighter for Ukrainian language and culture, Irina Faryon's actions, a patriotic student from Crimea suffered. The linguistic Valkyrie revealed his name to the Russian occupiers. The boy was later arrested by the Russian FSB. The temporarily occupied territories of Ukraine is really a twilight zone of fear, terror, repression, and brutal persecution for beliefs. In no way it is not matched by bright images that Russian propaganda is doing its best to deliver to the world regarding living in TOT.
It is not secret that the occupation administration in Crimea exerts pressure on people with pro-Ukrainian views. This is also reported by human rights activists and the media. Dmytro Lubinets, the Ukrainian Parliament Commissioner for Human Rights, on Telegram.
The majority of the TOT population is forced to simply hide their true views and attitudes from the occupiers because they fear for their lives. As simple as that. Caution is the main condition for survival under Russian occupation. Residents of a TOT try to maintain contacts with people in free territories of Ukraine because they need true information of what is really going on and because they need moral support, as all of us. In addition, they consider any sort of assistance to the defense forces of Ukraine to be their civic duty. It is crucial to preserve the anonymity of patriots who are currently living under occupation is the main priority and primary responsibility of those who maintain contact with them and who consider themselves better Ukrainian origin than others for some reason. It is necessary to strictly follow simple rules in order not to expose yourself and your contacts on TOT to Russians. That is a way more quality patriotism that is important if you, like Samuel Johnson told us, do not want to find yourself a scoundrel looking for a lost refuge. It was Henry Keane on UATV English, hoping to give you the hard truth again in easy enough terms, again on a daily wrap-up today, again, as usual. Comment, like, and subscribe. Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Your opinion matters a lot to us. Please stay safe and tuned for much more. See you very soon tomorrow.